Here we go. Actually, let me go over this section real quick. So most of these names are not going to be having localized versions. Obviously, they're in the KR test server. Some translations are tricky. There's a chance that some things are just not right, which are basically what these two cover. And then this just says that these are from the recent test server update. I try to include these just in case anybody has these set to be in their server when I publish these, because this is an announcement channel. So if any of you are watching want this in your own server, feel free to hop in mine and grab it and webhook it to yours. They are very much open for that. All right, so for the first one, we've got Melodic Puppeteer. So when it's active, you get a dedicated UI. I wish I could have grabbed photos, but Discord and putting photos in the middle of text does not go well when you're doing a big wall of text. So the first skill, we've got Passive Skill. So this one is what lets you use the 3 puppets together. By the way, you get a new puppet called the Echo Marionette. This is what gives you that. It also changes how your control type works for controlling your puppets. So instead of having the old strings walk around, they become more, it comes more like, I guess you could say, a summoner class. Basically, the way to work is for your skills, you'll just summon puppets in a specific order, which is this one right here. It'll be Period, Colossus, then Echo. And then it just loops back. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and Act 7 automatically have another 3.5 seconds added to their cooldown, which is a little rough, but reasonable when you see it. I don't have any footage, unfortunately, to share, though. So, Act 9 gets completely cut off, though. Cannot use Act 9 whatsoever. It becomes grayed out. For the active skills, you have Downbeat Accent, where you inflict damage. It is a AoE based on around a certain target. Its damage is based on Act 2. There's Tracking Steps, which is attacks one target up to 7 times, based on Act 1. There's Grand Finale, which is like your big skill. All 3 puppets get summoned. They all do a big old whoop-de-doo and beat the heck out of an opponent. Based on Act 7 damage. Then, you're right, Ian, I am streaming. If there's another puppet active when you use Grand Finale, like that's using a skill. So say you're using like Act 4 with your Colossus puppet. Act 4 gets canceled and it joins the Grand Finale. Then there's Wire Web based on Act 6 range. Attacks enemies within a certain range. The targeted enemy gains a debuff based on Discord. The translations used Melody Shock, but after like digging, best I could find, Melody Shock translates to Discord. The debuff gives, oh, this is supposed to be like moved inside a little bit, or like the next dot in, but it's fine. It gives the debuff with movement speed reduction, continuous damage per second, and 15% bonus damage from your puppets. Does not stack with range impact, and he gets bonus damage based on Discord. Then you have Interlude Slash. You get damage based around a certain range on the selected enemy, so AoE. Both its range and damage are based on Act 4. An attack occurs for each puppet that is active. I'm not certain how that... I'm reading this wrong. It inflicts damage to enemies within a certain range based on the location of the currently summoned puppet. This says doll, it's supposed to be puppet. That's a typo. You'll see why the typos kind of got away from me here in a little bit with how long this is about to be. When using the skill, if multiple puppets are around, an attack occurs for each one. It cannot be used if there's no puppets out currently. Then there's Quick Swing. Moves user to the puppet closest to the mouse cursor among currently summoned puppets. But it on-summons the selected puppet. This one may be a mistranslation. I'm not 100% certain how this one is supposed to read, this was the best that I could interpret it as it is. It did not have user in the translation. It was moves to the puppet closest. Which I assume that's supposed to be the user, but we'll see later. If a puppet is using Grand Finale, though, can't do it. Won't do it. Ain't gonna do it. For links, I'm kind of just gonna skip over all of them. Links 1 to 9 aren't gonna really matter if you have link 10. So, at link 10, your HP and MP are increased by 50, stamina by 100. 50% of your BFO is applied to your puppets. Your puppet control range is increased by 5 meters. Whenever you use Quick Swing, you'll gain a 15% movement speed bonus for 5 seconds. If you have music buffs on, you will gain auto defense, ignoring heavy standard for certain levels of opponents, as well as the Awakening Life effect. I believe this refers to the bonuses of Act 9, which I put right here. You also get an increased duration to Wire Web for 10 seconds, and the cooldown of Interlude Slash is decreased by 2. I also forgot to include this in link 10, apparently. I see that got skipped. We're going to see if I can edit that real quick. Live edits. We're not going to worry about the Fury Fighter. So you get the new Exceed skills. When using the Exceed skills, you get Force via the Limited Force skill, which is a passive that'll be down below. So for stage 1, you have the Exceed skill Chain Blow. Damage to a certain, or it's an AoE, damage to enemies in a certain range around whichever enemy you target. You have Impact Dive as your stage 2. You charge towards a selected target. But Chain Blow is based on Charging Strike. You have Impact Dive, which is 3 attacks on a single enemy, based on Somersault Kick. And then Force Slam, you leap towards a target, and then you deal an AoE damage. And it does have a pull effect on it, and its damage is based off Pummel. There is Fury of the Berserker. It consumes some of your force and boost skills of stage 1 skills. I don't know if it's, I assume it's damage, but it wasn't very explicitive. Then there's stage 2 skills as well. If you use the skill, I think it's if you use the skill again, or if you use it while the skill is still active. Then there's Limited Force, which is just what lets you gain force. There's Gale Pierce, Force Flare, and Ultimate Strike as your active skills. Gale Pierce inflicts damage to enemies within a certain range of the selected target. AoE, of course. It gives yourself heavy standard for a little bit. But so the problem with the active skills do consume force. So you have to build force up using your Exceed skills. And then Gale Pierce is based on Focus Fist. Force Flare inflicts damage to enemies within a certain range centered around you. Based on Drop Kick, also has all 3 of the active skills have the heavy standard effect. And then there's Ultimate Strike, which I think is going to be your big skill. Inflict damage to a total of 3 times to enemies within a certain range of your selected target, and its damage is based on Spinning Uppercut. Just like Melodic Puppeteer, we're skipping straight to link 10. As you can see, where Puppeteer kind of gained a lot of text, this one's text just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So with link 10, you double your force gain by increasing it by 100%, or with an increase of 100%. Your HP and stamina are increased by 200. Why? I don't know. Fuck it. With an Exceed skill when an Exceed skill triggers a critical hit, both the Exceed skill and your regular combo skills get a cooldown reduction of 20%. Your Tumble cooldown resets on an Exceed skill, or any critical hit, basically. Gale Pierce, Force Flare, and Ultimate Strike's range gets increased. 1 meter for Gale Pierce and Ultimate Strike. Force Flare is 1.5 meters. Combo Mastery damage is increased by 30%. I don't know what the up to 50% is for. I'm not certain how that works. And then the cooldown reduction is by 20%, up to 30%. Again, also don't know how that works. When equipped with heavy armor, the damage reduction from the 3rd stage combo effects is removed. And then when using tumble, stiffness and down immunity are increased, and your tumble movement speed is doubled. And then for the last part of the link, your charging strike range is increased by 3 meters. I don't know why this was a part of the link 10. I feel like that could have been an earlier link, but it's there. For the other test server patch notes, there is a new item, Puppet. Nightbringer Puppet. And then there are changes to the control bars for both Nightbringer and Soul Liberator level. They move the piercing from the Marionette to the control bars. The Marionette piercing level gets changed to base piercing for the Nightbringer. And then the Soul Liberator ones are doubled from 2 to 4, and then the basic Marionette piercing level loses. Your Muria's relics are going to be for Puppeteer. It's going to be for Downbeat Accent, Interlude Slash, and Grand Finale, all damage. Fury Fighter, all of the Exceed skills gain damage. I did not fix this typing at all. I think by this point I was just getting tired. And then your stat caps for Arcanas go up. I'm just going to cover the 450. So by 450, your critical hit limit is up to 13, or up to 14, excuse me. It's your balance that stays the same. Your balance cap is up to 4. Your HP, stamina, and mana cap is increased by 2,375. Your 5 base stats are up by 950. No. Here's the one that, like, I think is more important on a basis of we'll get this probably sooner. Not too much sooner. We may get it at the same time, honestly. Alright, so this is what breaks the debuffs down into skill groups. This is the update that breaks them down into debuff groups. So when you use a skill of the same debuff group, if they overlap, and like I'll try to do an explanation of this afterwards, but if they overlap, the higher effect will still apply, and the duration will be reapplied. Actually, I can kind of just explain it with Smokescreen and Uppercut still here on the screen. If you do Uppercut will have a higher value than Smokescreen. So if you go to do Smokescreen, it'll reset the values, or it'll reset the timer for Uppercut, but it'll keep the Uppercut's debuff values. For Smokescreen, you can see the defensive protection got increased. 90 for the from 20 to 90 for the defense, and then 7 to 20 for protection. On top of that, you get additional 22 defense and magic defense reduction, and an 11% prot and magic prot reduction. Smokescreen does cover both physical and magic, so if you're in a pinch, you can do it to cover both. But if you're going for full debuffs, you're likely gonna go with Uppercut and Hydra in those places. Reason being, Uppercut and Hydra have better numbers, as well as reforges or awaken skills on echoes. Uppercut. Before, it would reduce defense by 33 and protection by 10. Now it reduces defense by 103 and protection by 23. Also, the Hydra cooldown has been reduced from 60 seconds to 20. But they all have that 22% and 11%, by the way. Support shot is up from 10% to 48, which is kind of crazy. Death Mark is up from 25 to 53 based on Dan 3. But Death Mark also has... so you have the support shot effect. But you also, for Death Mark, have the... you have either the Aaron Chain Slasher or the Hyperion Diadem / Helmet, as well as the Damage Amplification Reforge on gloves or Echo. So Deathmark ends up being massively better, because 53% plus 3 from the set effect plus another, I think it's 5% from the another 5% from the Reforge. Now, I really do not want to cover this section. One, because the way it's worded confuses me. And 2, it's a lot of the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So I'll leave it on screen long enough for you to read, like, pause and read yourself. I'll count the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not doing that again. Okay. And then pets, which I think is one of the biggest W's here. So they added a checkbox to friend summons. If it's turned on, when you summon the main pet, as long as the friend summon pet is not unconscious or on cooldown, its summon effects will be applied too. So say you have a Purrling with 5 friend summons, which are a Serranus and 4 Bun Buns. When you summon that Purrling, all 5 of those additional effects will be summoned. That one cat will apply cat, Serranus, Bun, 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 Bun. So it condenses pet debuffs down a lot. The only downside is Cart cannot be included since Water Balloon is an active skill, not a passive on summon. They have also changed it to where Foxy Quinn's effect, when applied, if there are 2 Bun Bun Clovers, it increases the Bun Bun timer without overriding it. They did the same thing for Bone Dragon to Purrling. Currently in KR, there is a bug, or there's a bug report for both the Foxy Quinn and Wells active skills. Those are still overriding Clovers as of right now, but it is marked as a bug, so it should be fixed by the time it gets to us. The other last thing is Cart's Water Balloon usage. That has been shortened. And that's the time to use the skill. So it's a buff to Water Balloon. There is one other thing I would like to show for the debuffs. I need to get it up real quick. So the first one you have there, that's the physical defense protection icon that's being added. The first 3 icons are all new icons for all the different debuff types. The Deathmark icon was left on, even though it's a damage amplification, which is that 3rd icon. It was left on because of the Deathmark pull. That is considered its own thing now. So if you do Deathmark as your physical or your damage booster debuff, you get both those icons. There's the Snowman Jack, Serranus. Serranus, Aspect 5 of Fate Weaver. Then obviously Water Balloon and Purrling. This is Quananon. You have your Fergara. You have your 4 Bun Buns. And then your, there was one debuff I forgot that was on here. Oh, Hangman. Hangman still also goes here. I did check some footage out. They still do use Hangman. It just got overlooked on this chart. Let me swap back over to Mabby real quick. So what you would do is if this Serranus right here was your Purrling, you would summon it, and all of these would immediately go on cooldown. And the Purrling, my dog-shaped Purrling here would apply its effect, the Serranus's effect, and all 4 of these buns. And then all of these are going to be on cooldown. Just immediately. All from summoning the one pet. It's like Pet Parade, but 1,000 times better. And that pretty much covers it for all the updates from KR.